There we go. Okay, so we are recording and people are starting to come in. I'm going to give it a few minutes just so that, everybody could get logged in here before we officially get started. And I think we actually have some people, Neil and Marina, that are logging in from Europe to watch this. So you've got an international audience today.
Yeah, so Ireland today retweeted the announcement that I did. And so we've gotten quite a few registrations from Italy and Germany.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Everybody's just chomping at the bit to go somewhere, and this is the way to do it right now.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Okay. Just got somebody in the chat box. Hello from Sarajevo.
Oh.
Actually, Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yeah.
Well, hello.
Okay, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. This is Take a Virtual Vacation. Today, our destination is Ireland. My name is Susan Schaefer. My fellow host is Maria Stephanopoulos.
Hello.
We are two travel agents here in the United States. Maria is located in Florida. I own Ships and Trips Travel in Tennessee. Our other two partners who aren't with us today are Barbara Oliver and Gail Sherman, both located in California. And what we did, when this whole pandemic set in and everybody started staying at home, is we created Take a Virtual Vacation so that we could at least virtually escape every week and go to a different destination and, at least take a short vacation if we couldn't take a real one. And so that's how this came to be. You can find us online. We've got more than one location now. We have Facebook where the group is located, and that's where we started. Take a Virtual Vacation. And we are now starting meetup groups. Maria is hosting a meetup group in the greater Tampa Bay area called Eat, Drink, Travel, Greater Tampa Bay. I am hosting the meetup group in Middle Tennessee, so the greater Nashville area, and that is Eat, Drink, Travel, Middle Tennessee. And we will have other meetup groups launching in other locations as well as California, because Barbara and Gail are also located in California. So, but those will be coming. So you have your different places to find us online during the week, find out where we'll be taking virtual vacations in the future, ask questions, post discussions, and just kind of escape a little bit. So that's what we are. That's where you can find us. And right now I am going to hand this over to Neil and Marina. They are in the UK. So thank you for joining us at this time of night. It's what, 8 p.m. your time, right?
Yeah, 8 p.m.
Yep. So they took time out of their evening to join us, and they're going to tell us all about the destination of Ireland.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our tour of Ireland. I am Neil. With me is Marina. We are the owners of M&M Travel. We specialise in all land arrangements to the UK. So it's Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales. And today we're going to talk to you about Ireland. So why would anyone want to go to Ireland? Well, it is a fantastically beautiful country. It has rolling hills, dramatic coastlines, it has history, it has whiskey, it's got golf, it's got one of the greatest welcomes that you will ever have. There is nothing in the world like an Irish welcome. If you've not been before, and you hear somebody say, or somebody offer to help you locate some crack, please don't be alarmed in any way whatsoever. That is the Irish word for fun. It's not like somebody's going to go and source you some illegal narcotics to put into a pipe. They are all about fun. Ireland is, as I say, one of the most hospitable countries and one of the most welcoming of peoples. It also has, as we've touched upon, you know, the stunning scenery. You've got the Mourne Mountains in the north. You've got the cliffs of Moher in the east. It's got one of the world's longest defined coastal driving routes, the Wild Atlantic Way. It has thousands of years of history. It's got old high kings. It's got legends, St. Patrick and the banishment of snakes. Although, to be fair, I don't think there were any snakes in Ireland before St. Patrick was there, but we'll leave that one for another time. Myths, legends, giants, banshees, leprechauns, all sorts of great stories that you will no doubt be told in one of your many evenings in a local Irish pub. Castles, too many castles to even be able to do justice in this short time that we have together. But we'll talk about it a little bit later. There are various castle hotels which you can stay at, as I say. We'll go into that bit more detail later. It's also famous for Guinness, you know, known as the pint of the black stuff. They say that Guinness itself doesn't travel particularly well. And what they mean by that, it's not that it's an unhappy traveller, as in it's a bad companion. It just doesn't settle well. It doesn't taste as well when it's away from its natural homeland, which is Ireland. And that's actually quite true, because if you have a pint of Guinness in Dublin, in the famous Temple Bar, it will be different if you have a pint of Guinness in Thailand. And you know, the pint of Guinness in Dublin is a delightful experience and thoroughly recommended. Whiskey, it has around about, and again, I'll talk about this a little bit more detail later, 28 whiskey distilleries. It's not as much as Scotland, which has around about over 200, there are about 300 perhaps. There are more planned on the way, but of course we've had COVID, so that's impacted matters somewhat. We'll go on to talk a little bit more about whiskey in a bit more detail again towards the end of this. It has an evolving foodie scene, lots of artisan products, lots of fresh products, organic products, really beautiful sort of what you'd expect from a rural country. We've mentioned the people and how wonderful they are. They are some of the friendliest in the world. And who has not gone weak at the knees when they have heard the Irish accent? It's famous for its music, folk music, river dances, the Irish jig. If you are fortunate enough, when you go to an Irish bar and you listen to some of the Irish music, the traditional Irish music, what I would suggest to you is that you listen very, very carefully to some of the words, some of the lyrics of the songs. Because if you are fortunate enough, you may hear what is termed a rebel song. So this is sort of an anti-UK, anti-sort of monarchy, back from the times when Ireland was part of the UK up until around 1922-25. Golf as well. It's got some of the best golf courses in the world. Over 300 golf courses, 50 of which are links courses, which is around about 25% of the world's links courses. And of course, for those of you who are joining from North America, the USA in particular, I know we've got some European friends, visitors who are watching this today, and welcome. But in relation to those, particularly in the United States, there is a ancestral relationship. You know, I think 6 million people emigrated from Ireland over to North America over the last sort of few hundred years. So there are very strong links between Ireland and America. And just on that point is what we are able to do for you is if you have historic links, so your family originated initially from Ireland, we're able to, with sufficient notice, not obviously 2 weeks before you're due to leave, but 3 to 6 months, you give us the information about your ancestors, and we can instruct our experts to compile sort of a family tree. We can find out where they lived, where they worked, where they worshipped, and we can do a bespoke, customized itinerary so that you can visit in or follow in the footsteps of your ancestors. Just a sort of a brief map to point out the difference. Whilst it is the island of Ireland, it is, of course, two separate countries of sort. the top there in what looks like purple mauve colour is Northern Ireland. That's part of the United Kingdom. When you were going there, that is the currency there is pounds. The rest of it is the Republic of Ireland, also known as the Free State. The currency there is euros. So we'll start off by talking about Northern Ireland. So this, as you recall, is part of the UK. Now, it's famous, certainly most recently, for being the backdrop to Game of Thrones. Now, we will again come to cover this a little bit more detail, because the people are very interested in Northern Ireland, particularly for its relationship with Game of Thrones, and there are Game of Thrones tours that you can do. It also has Giant's Causeway, the old Bushmills distillery, as well as championship golf courses also. Its major city and its capital city is Belfast, which we'll come on to cover now. So Belfast, famous not only for being the capital city of Northern Ireland, but also as the place where the Titanic was built. It's famous for the Troubles. So you have to think, Northern Ireland itself, up until around about 22 years ago, had a bit of a bad reputation, because ultimately the province, Northern Ireland, was at war. Can't put it any other way except for that. And peace came about in the Good Friday Agreement in 1998. Now, what they've now done is they've turned the historic conflict now into it's not a tourist attraction, but it's a historical lesson for people to learn about this turbulent time in Northern Irish, and indeed UK history. Just a quick note, whilst we're mentioning the Troubles, some people believe that the Troubles themselves was a religious war fought against or between Catholics and Protestants. That isn't actually right. It was a political war between Unionists, who happened to be Protestant, and the Unionists, as the name suggests, wanted to remain part of the Union, i.e. with the United Kingdom, and the Republicans, who happened to be Catholics, who wanted a united Ireland. So they wanted to be away from the United Kingdom. And the war was about the constitutional importance of the state of Ulster, which is Northern Ireland, and who ultimately had control of it. As I say, it's a different place now from what it was before. So what we've done here is we've put together a sort of a 2-night exploration of Belfast, which can be done from Dublin. So what we'd suggest that you do, if you've got 2 nights, is go and have a look at the famous Titanic Museum. Have a tour, and you'll see there on the right-hand side the picture there of the typical sort of London black taxi. You can have a black taxi tour of Belfast. Normally, your guide will have been involved in the Troubles, whether that is as a Republican paramilitary or as one of the Unionists, and they will give you talks about the history, about the conflict itself, and regale you, or sometimes even horrify you, with tales of the butcher of Shanklin Road, or we'll talk to you about the murals and what they mean and explain it all to you. So you've got a better grasp and understanding of what actually happened. Really, really good tours to go on. We'd also suggest going on a sort of a 4-hour walk-in tour around Belfast, tasting the local produce for yourselves and seeing what Belfast and Northern Ireland has got to offer. One of the most famous attractions, I suppose, on the northeastern coast, or the very top, really, of Northern Ireland is what you can see there on the right-hand side, the Giant's Causeway. Now, the Giant's Causeway is a geological phenomenon. It's over 60 million years old, and you can see it there. It's a volcanic eruption comes up, and we have all these hexagonal columns created, as I say, 60 million years ago. But the legend is, as you will hear in Ireland, there's always a legend, is somewhat more delightful, shall we say. The legend goes that there was a giant in Northern Ireland, and there was a giant over in Scotland. Now, they were huge. The voices were so loud that they could be heard, or the Irish giant's voice could be heard in Scotland and vice versa. And they used to shout across the Irish Sea to each other, really winding each other up, having arguments across the Irish Sea. Now, the Irish giant, who, to my mind, has one of the greatest names ever known for a giant. His name was Finn McCool. Now, in my mind, I always think of him as the Fonzie from Happy Days of giants. The leather jacket, the sunglasses, walking around as the coolest of cool dudes of the giant world. But anyway, they offered to fight one another. But they had to get across the Irish Sea. So they built the Giant's Causeway. And they linked from Northern Ireland to the British mainland, to Scotland. And as they were about to meet in the middle somewhere, Finn McCool, the great one with the sunglasses, sees the size of the Scottish giant. And he goes, oh my God, he's huge. He is so much bigger than me. Panics. The Scottish giant hasn't seen him yet. Runs back home. Tells his wife, he says, oh, you should see the size of this Scottish giant. He's huge. His wife hatches a plan. She says, I'll tell you what we'll do. We will wrap you up as a baby and we'll put you over there in that cot. So they do that, and the Scottish giant comes and he's looking for Finn. And he goes into the house and he sees this baby lying there in the cot. And he thinks to himself, my word, if that is the size of a baby, can you imagine the size of the father? And he panics and he runs off, terrified. And on his way back to Scotland, he destroys the causeway behind him. And that's the legend of the Giant's Causeway. You can also, on a 2-night Dublin tour, have a drink in the Crown Liquor Saloon. It's one of Belfast's most famous and beautiful pubs. I'll tell you a story about that, but let me just catch my breath because I tell a lot of stories. You'll see here from the map, Belfast here, that's Dark Hedges, that's the King's Road in Game of Thrones. There's Bushmill Distillery, there's the Giant's Causeway. And you'll just see there, that's the sort of the Scottish mainland. So you'll see how they, created the Giant's Causeway between themselves and how they could hear each other when they're shouting and arguing about who was the hardest giant. So these are some of our favourite hotels in Belfast. We've got the Merchant Hotel, luxury 5-star Belfast, really good properties you can see from the photographs there. The Europa Hotel, which is a 4-star deluxe, happens to be famous, probably not the best accolade you ever want for a hotel, but it's famous as it's the most bombed hotel in the whole of Europe. It's been bombed over 11 times. As I say, everything's fine now. But I did say I'll tell you a story, another one. That is opposite the Crown Liquor Saloon. Now, the Crown Liquor Saloon is very famous in Belfast. It was owned about 100 years ago, there or thereabouts, by a married couple. One happened to be a Protestant, so a Unionist, and one happened to be a Republican, a Catholic. And the Unionist wanted to rename the pub the Crown in celebration of the links to Great Britain, a celebration of links to the UK. Now, of course, the other partner didn't like that idea because they were Republican. They didn't want to be part of the UK. But they decided that what they would do is put a crown on the floor to show the disrespect to the monarchy, to the crown, to the symbol of Great Britain. And it's still there. So when you walk in, you'll see a crown on the floor. And they say that you can tell who is Republican, who is a Unionist, because to this day, when a Unionist walks in, they will not step on the crown. They will try and hop over it. So you can go there, and, it serves some nice drinks as well. It's very historical, but you can go and play the games of spot the Republican, spot the Unionist. So if you've got a bit more time, rather than just the 2 nights in Belfast, want to do a little bit more, explore around Northern Ireland, these are some of the things that we suggest that you do. You can learn more about the Irish food. As I say, there's lots of local produce, Michelin-star restaurants, real sort of resurgence in the quality of Irish food, and they're very, very proud of it. You can go and have baking lessons with a traditional family. So that's something a bit sort of off the beaten track, something a bit different. If someone's looking for not the stereotypical type of thing, well, you can go with an actual family and bake and learn how to bake traditional Irish soda bread, which we found that people have quite liked that. Or you can get up at the crack of dawn and go fishing. But not only go fishing in the Atlantic Ocean, but also have your own private chef there who will then cook it for you for breakfast. Or you can go on a nice foodie walking tour. I did promise you that we were going to come back to the Game of Thrones. So here we are. What we would say about a Game of Thrones tour is it would take about 3 to 5 days to do it properly. But you'll notice, if you can follow my cursor here, you've got Winterfell here as number 9. You've got, I can't, there's my cursor, there we are. River Run is over here. King's Road is there, Dark Hedges. Then we've got Dragonstone up here. And then we've got the Iron Islands around about here. So you can see it's quite a bit sort of spread out around, but if you've got less time, you can concentrate on this bit or on this bit, or you can probably do all those together, but it's going to be quite sort of tight. But yeah. So here's a couple of pictures. You've got the Carrick road bridge. That's a giant's causeway. You've got the Bushmills distillery down there, and then Dark Hedges, of course, the famous King's Road from Game of Thrones. A picture of one of the jails in Belfast. And then the bottom, you've got the Ulster American Folk Park. That itself is a recreation of a historical Irish village. You can see how they lived back in the day. It also, in tribute to the Irish who emigrated over to North America, has got a life-size replica of a ship that they would have taken over on the 12-week cruise, and you can see the cramped conditions, etc., that they lived in. We'll move away now from Northern Ireland and go into Dublin. Dublin, of course, is the capital of the Republic of Ireland, or the Free State, as the locals call it. Again, it's full of history, Viking history, British Empire, it's Republican history in the sort of 1920s. It's got vibrant bars of Temple Bar with its, as I say, the great pint of Guinness and a great, glass of whiskey or Jameson's. Folk music is played in lots of the bars, and I say try and keep an ear out for some of those sort of rebel songs to really get a sort of a taste for old-fashioned Irish folk music. That there is a picture of what's called halfpenny, which is a shortage or slang, I suppose, for halfpenny, and that's Halfpenny Bridge. And that comes because the pedestrians who used to cross the bridge would be charged half a penny to cross over it back in the day when it was first built. You also got the architecture, you've got the history, as I say, Book of Kells, Trinity College, St. Patrick's Cathedral, Christchurch, the Guinness Storehouse, lots of things that you can do in and around Dublin itself. So again, what we have come up with is a sort of a classic tour for a 2-night stay in Dublin. So what we would first of all recommend is Dublin itself is quite a accessible city. It's not the largest city in the world, so it's easy to walk around, provided, of course, you don't have mobility issues. So we'd always recommend a walk-in tour with a guide, and they can show you all around, and they talk, and they will tell you the stories. They'll tell you the legends in that legendary Irish way, and you will just be in love with them all and in love with all the stories. You can go on to a guided tour of the oldest working structure, which is a Viking church, which is Christ Church Cathedral. Go and have a look at a distillery. There is Bushmills, isn't there, in there, but we wouldn't recommend. Jameson, sorry, forgive me. There's Jameson's distillery in Dublin itself, but it's not a working distillery now. It is more like effectively a theme park. Yeah. So go to Teeling's, which is still a working distillery if you want the more sort of authentic experience. Guinness Storehouse, as I say, it's a must. You're in Ireland, you must have a pint of the black stuff. It is a very long day. It's on 7 floors. 7 floors. You'll be exhausted. You may not be able to do all of it because there's a lot of walking, a lot to take in. But certainly, as they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans. When in Dublin, go to the Guinness Storehouse and have a couple of pints of Guinness. You've got the Book of Kells as well, with one of the most impressive libraries in the world, with the manuscript of the Book of Kells being over 1,000 years old. And as I say, you cannot go to Ireland without having the crack, without having the food, without having the drink. And there is a lovely pub just outside of Dublin itself, where they'll play live music. I think it's one of the oldest pubs.
Yeah, the highest.
One of the oldest and highest pubs in Ireland. So you'll have traditional Irish food, pint of Guinness, pint of whiskey. There'll be folk music. There'll be dancing. You will have the crack that you don't smoke in a pipe. It'll be fantastic. If you've got a little bit more time, then these are other things that we would suggest that you can do. So you can go to the Little Museum of Dublin and learn about the everyday life and the social history. You can go to the jail, learn about civic and national life, or you can go to the Emigration Museum. And of course, again, whilst the Irish are everywhere, it's one of those great things about no matter where you ever go in the world, you will always somehow find an Irish bar. Thus far, my favourite place to find one has been Hanoi. So communist Vietnam, and walking around, and there was an Irish bar. I'm desperate to see whether, if I went to North Korea, there would be an Irish bar there somewhere. But so learn about the immigration. These are some of our favourite hotels in Dublin: the Shelbourne, the Merrion, the Westbury, and the Fitzwilliam. All very, very good properties to stay. And the Cliff Townhouse, which is, the others were 5-star. This is 4-star, but lovely. Marina, it's more of a seafood.
Yes, it's a very famous seafood restaurant with rooms. So it's like a boutique hotel with 9 rooms overlooking, oh my God, what's the square? St. Stephen's Green.
St. Stephen's Green.
Yes, so very, very central location. You can walk to all major attractions within 10-20 minutes. I think I will have a map later. And then another one, Davenport Hotel. It's located in a former bank, as you can see, but like inside it's quite modern, good location as well. So here is the map just to show you. So Davenport, that's the 4-star hotel here. So it's very close to National Gallery, National Museum, Trinity College, Science Gallery. So it's all like 5-10 minutes tops. At Merrion Hotel in Shelbourne, 2 probably the best iconic hotels in Dublin. Cliff Townhouse right next door to Shelbourne, and then Fitzwilliam is here. So you've got Dublin Castle, Christ Church Cathedral here, St. Patrick's Cathedral, and your whiskey distillery, and you can and then Westbury. So this area here, that's your main shopping area in Dublin. So yeah, you can see I think that's my favorite area,
Mm-hmm.
location to stay as well. Here's just some pictures for you. So you've got Temple Bar, Trinity College, which houses Book of Kells, your Guinness.
There's the jail at the top.
The jail,
Some artisan cheeses, and then Trinity College Library as well. So if you don't, or if you're going to base yourself in Dublin, you can tour around, but some people don't have the time, or indeed sometimes don't have the funds to go all the way around. So some of the day tours that you can do, of course, the classic one would be the Cliffs of Moher tour. Along the way, you would visit Corcomro Abbey, which is a ruined 12th, 13th century abbey, very, very beautiful. Go along the Wild Atlantic Way before you arrive then at the Cliffs of Moher. The only thing is that this is a very long day. It's a 14-hour day, because you're going effectively over to the other side of Ireland. And, you know, whilst Ireland is beautiful, its road network is not the best, insofar that you have country lanes and winding roads, so you don't have your freeways or your interstate, etc. So it takes a little bit longer to get to places. Another suggested day tour would be on the other side, so the east coast. Go and look through some of the beautiful villages.
Famous gardens.
Yeah, some famous gardens featuring in, you know, Braveheart, P.S. I Love You. Go through the, you know, County Wicklow Mountains and Glendalough Valley. You know, all beautiful, what you would imagine for delightful Irish countryside. Or of course you can go back over the other side to Galway, the village of Cong, the famous iconic film with John Wayne, The Quiet Man. Visit the ruin of Cong Abbey. Cong is the location, for those of you who know, of Ashford Castle, the very famous luxury castle. And then you go around into Galway Bay and have a look at the bohemian sort of arty city, Galway. Beautiful, beautiful sort of Irish countryside.
But again, it will be a very long day.
Yeah. Another one would be the famous Blarney Castle, you know, where you kiss the Blarney Stone, where legend has it you are given what we would call over here the gift of the gab, the ability to talk and to charm and to, you know, make merriment. The only thing is and I don't know what it's going to be like post-COVID world, of course, because everybody kisses it, and I don't necessarily think that unless they disinfect it after each one, I'm not sure. But you do have to hang upside down to kiss the stone itself. It's perfectly safe. You know, there's cage or wire steel sort of supports there. You're not going to fall because there's a hole in the wall of the castle. But yeah, I wonder, you know, how people will get on post-COVID with that. Yes, so here's some of the locations there for day tours from Dublin.
Yeah, so you've got Powerscourt, Glendalough, just this area here, very beautiful. And if you've got a private chauffeur with you, so instead of Glendalough, you could probably just outside Kildare, there's a national stud if you like horses. So this area is really, really nice. Easy day, I would say 7 hours maybe. Then another one will be Cobb. That's the final departure of Titanic, Cork and Blarney Castle. So,
and before you go on, Cobb as well, when Marina says the final departure place of the Titanic, out of the 6 million people who went to North America, 2.6 million went from that location. So they've got sort of museums, etc., and you can go and have a look about the immigrants or the emigrants.
They actually have got a Titanic experience there. It's smaller, but like I prefer this one rather than in Belfast, because this one is smaller, more intimate, less people, and I think it's more emotional when you're there. Really great guide. So then you've got your Galway and Connemara area here, very pretty, and then Barron and Cliffs of Moher. So like you can see if you're driving from Dublin all the way here to Cliffs of Moher and back, that's a long day.
So if you've got a bit more time, what we put together is, well, we've done a sort of an island showcase. So to try and pack as much as you can in, but still giving you a little bit of time to relax, we put a 14-day tour for you to see as much as you can. Of course, there are other things if you've been to Ireland before, but these are the sort of the what we would suggest are the must-sees if you've got a 14-day vacation in Ireland. So,
Okay.
sorry, go on.
You know, so on day one, you arrive in Dublin, and then of course there will be a private transfer to the hotel. So we recommend maybe staying for 3 nights to do it properly. So on day 2, start your introduction to Dublin with a private walking tour, as Neil mentioned before. Discover Temple Bar, famous bridges, George Arcade, Christchurch Cathedral, or St. Patrick's. Which one you prefer? And of course, Trinity College and Book of Kells is a must. Please note that Trinity College is very, very busy, and you actually have to book online a guided tour of Book of Kells. Otherwise, you will be queuing, and there's no guarantee you'll get the tickets. On day 3, visit Guinness Storehouse. It will be, please allow a half day because it's a lot of information. You will need a break, and you want to get to the bar on the top. Yeah, it's panoramic views. It's amazing. And then yes, they're here. So free time in afternoon, maybe for some shopping and exploring on your own. Day 4. So there will be a map afterwards. So I will show you actually the way it goes on the map. Day 4, travel through County Wicklow. See all the nice country villages. Visit gardens of Powerscourt Estate, continue to Glendalough, learn about Celtic crosses, and then continue your way to Kilkenny for 1 night. On day 5, spend the morning with a local guide who is a local celebrity, exploring small cobbled streets, visit the castle and with extensive gardens. Actually, Kilkenny before, it was a medieval capital of Ireland, so it wasn't Dublin before, it was Kilkenny. Really, really pretty place. So like ideally, if you've got some time, you want to spend more than just a morning. But here we go, we need to continue. In afternoon, continue to Rock of Cashel, also known as Cashel of the Kings and St. Patrick's Rock. And then from there, you continue to Cork area for your 2 nights. I think.
You know, then on day 6, you would do a food and cultural tour of Cork. Cork is the foodie capital.
Yeah. So the county Cork itself is a foodie capital of Ireland. So Cork's got English market, very famous market, where you can see and try local produce. They're very, very proud. So it's actually great tour. In the afternoon, visit charming village of Cop, Titanic experience, and then of course just outside there is Jameson Whiskey Distillery. This one is a proper distillery with proper guided tour. On day 7, Blarney Castle, just outside Cork. So kiss the stone. There will be some time for shopping in the Blarney Woolen Mills, the largest store in the world dedicated to Irish clothes, crafts and gifts. Amazing place for shopping. And then continue to Killarney for 3 nights. Killarney is a beautiful, beautiful place. So it's a shame because a lot of people just stop for 1 night and do it briefly, or do just the Ring of Kerry. Like I would recommend 2, ideally 3 or maybe more nights. It's probably the prettiest place in the whole island. So on day 8, enjoy the traditional way to see the local beauty sports by Johnson Car. So it's a unique horse-drawn carriage in a company of your Jarvi, which is a driver guide who tells stories left, right and center. In the afternoon, visit Macra's house, a former private residence, and you can see the famous bedroom where Queen Victoria slept when she visited Ireland in 1861. Then day 9, of course, it's a full day tour of the most famous attraction in Ireland, Ring of Kerry. It's very, very busy, and it's all day, and you will spend, well, scenery is beautiful, but like you will spend a lot of time in a car. And then for a bit more private, unique days, what's that jingle? The jingle. So it's exactly, well, not exactly, but like similar scenery that Ring of Kerry, but it's actually a nice experience and a shorter drive.
And not as busy as well.
Yeah, not as busy, yeah. Day 10, discover hidden gem of Kerry Gap of Dunlow. So your journey begins with a short drive to Kate Kinney's cottage, where you can take a jaunting car, or if you feel adventurous, you can go on horseback through the 6-mile pass. Scenery is stunning. And then once through the gap, there will be a boat waiting for you and taking you via 3 lakes to the historic Ross Castle, where the chauffeur or a coach, well, depends on excursion, will be waiting for you. And then here you will continue your way to Adair Manor for next 2 nights. On day 11, explore Banratty Folk Park, a 26-acre stunning recreation of the 19th century island. It's something similar that Neil was mentioning in Northern Ireland. So basically it's with the life guides, costume guides, and like you were spending wandering around 19th century Ireland. Day 12, of course, it's Cliffs of Moher, probably #1 must-see attraction in Ireland. And then you continue your journey to the Barren and on your way to Galway for the next 3 nights. So day 13 is an easy day. So you start maybe with a walking tour, a couple of hours walking tour of Galway, and then the rest of the day will be free. So whilst you're there, don't forget to try the world famous Galway oysters. On day 14, it will be full day to Connemara, stop at the Cong, and then in the afternoon visit Kilmore Abbey. And then on day 15, travel back to Dublin for your final night before departure home. So here is the map. So you start in Dublin, you go south via Wicklow to Kilkenny. So you stop for 1 night here. And then again, you know, like we tried to put as much as possible. Some people would probably or could stay for 2 nights. Oh, it doesn't work. In Kilkenny and do a day tour to Waterford and see the famous crystal factory. So here, Rock of Cashel, and then you continue to Cork. So you've got your Jameson, Cork and Blarney Castle in this area. Again, as I said, Cork, County Cork is a foodie capital of Ireland. So this area here is full of artisan places. So like different farms. There's a mozzarella farm, there's a, what else is there? There's famous cheeses and, well, all sorts of
and you'll get wonderful sort of, you know, organic meat. You get great seafood because, you know, we're on the island, we're not far from the coast. It's all, you know, really good wholesome food.
Yeah, so then your Killarney here. So Ring of Kerry, that's all the way, so that's area here. When I mentioned Dingle, so that's this one here. So a little bit smaller, less tourists, less coaches. Then you continue your way to Adair, beautiful, beautiful manor house. So your Banratty Folk Park here, Cliffs of Moher, Barren, Galway. So that's your Connemara area with Kilmore Abbey, and then you are back to Dublin there. Okay, here just, of course, if you are staying, if you're going to Ireland, I think everyone wants to stay at least for 1 night in the castle. So that's, there are hundreds and hundreds of beautiful castles and manor houses. So here just a few examples of the favorite ones. Ballyfin, it's probably the most luxurious castle in Ireland, and it's for someone who wants some privacy because it's only for residents. So restaurant or grounds are not accessible for outsiders. Then Ashford Castle. Yeah.
Adair Manor, which again, beautiful. I think that's going to be the home of the 2026, is it?
26.
26 Radical, yeah. And Dromoland. Yeah.
Dromoland Castle is just outside, where's the airport? The Shannon Airport. So if you're flying home, there are a lot of flights to America from Shannon. So that's the perfect probably end of your holiday. So Mount Juliet is beautiful manor house just outside Kilkenny. So it's perfect again if you want to stay in that area and explore. beautiful, beautiful place. And Castlemartyr is just 40 minutes outside Cork. Again, all these places except for the Ballyfin, because they don't allow kids under 9 years old, but the rest is perfect for the families because they've got a lot of activities to keep your kids entertained. So that's the map to show you. So you've got your Ballyfin Castle, that's the Mount Juliet here. So again, that's the area if you want to explore this part of Ireland. Castlemartyr, that's outside Cork. You've got Adair Manor, Dromoland here, and then Ashford Castle.
So if you want something a little bit more off the beaten track, then you are able to have a look at the Book of Kells as a sort of a private tour, pre-opening guided tour of Trinity College. You can go on the very famous, luxurious Belmont Grand Hibernian. Very, very luxurious, beautiful. Or you can go on a private tour of a 16th century castle hidden away in its own tiny island, lovingly restored by the owners, and you can sort of have, you know, great chats with the owners. They'll talk about how they carried out the restoration. Or you can go and have a tour of the Cliffs of Moher via your own private helicopter.
Yeah, so here just quickly some pictures. So that's a Rock of Cashel, pretty houses, very colourful houses of Cobb. That's your Johnson Car, and in the background that's Ross Castle. So your seafood with Guinness, Cliffs of Moher, and Waterford Crystal. Ross Castle, that's Banratty Folk Park, one of the thatched cottages, and Ring of Kerry.
And just to add on a couple of suggestions, if you're there with families, some of the things that you can do, you know, you can enjoy private cookery lessons, bread making, a tour, as Marina said before, about the island's only buffalo mozzarella farm with a home cooked lunch. Go and have a look at the Irish National Stud Farm and have a look at the horses over there. Or indeed the National Leprechaun Museum, which kids always enjoy. Again, the Blarney Stone, we've covered that. Or, you know, try your hand at some shooting, play with the Irish Labradors, you know, kids love all these type of things. A couple of pictures again, Ashford Castle, Adair Manor, Blarney Castle. You can certainly see how beautiful the country is. National Stud, Kilkenny Castle, and then some of the traditional Irish dances, the Cayley dances. We'll try and wrap up now with a bit about this food and drink. We've touched upon this already a little bit. You know, the natural produce, the organic produce, the artisan food, you know, really has come into its own ground over the last sort of 20 years. They cook some wonderful, wonderful foods. But here's some of the more traditional foods. The Irish soda bread, you would sometimes eat that with breakfast or with soups, really, really beautiful. Irish stew, very, very nice stews. Shellfish and other seafood, you know, you'll get some great seafood in Ireland because, of course, it is an island. Irish salmon, I don't eat salmon. Marina tells me it's lovely. I don't know whether it's better than Scottish salmon. I couldn't tell you whether it's better than Alaskan salmon. I have no idea, but Marina tells me it's absolutely delightful. Boxty, that's a potato dumpling, potato pancake. Heavy, but lovely. You know, really, really nice to have with breakfast. And boiled bacon and cabbage. Don't think it would go well together, but actually really, really does. Delightful. And colcannon and champ. Champ is sort of mashed potato with spring onions, milk and butter. Again, doesn't sound like it's going to go particularly well, but it is delicious. And black and white puddings, again, I'm not going to tell you what goes into them, but you certainly should give that a go when you're over there. You know, really good with breakfast. And coddle, which is stew, slices of pork, sausage and bacon. Again, you know, quite a little bit heavy, but very wholesome and very filling, very nice. And then barmbrack, which is basically a fruity malt loaf. Very, 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 very nice. I'm going to talk a little bit about Irish whiskey. Now, I've talked about this a little bit before. There are only at the current moment in time 28 distilleries. There are more on the way, but of course COVID has had an impact on that. If you're a real whiskey enthusiast, Scotland has a lot more. But this, Ireland is still good, very good for whiskey and for whiskey experiences. And it's a matter of taste and preference. But you'll see they're more spread out. So you probably get more around here or around there as to where you'd want to go. But certainly if you're not a connoisseur and you just want to have a go, then you can see normally there should be some in and around where the most tourist attractions are, so you'll better at least pay a visit to one of them, but certainly worth it. Golf, as I say, over 300 golf courses, 50 links golf courses, which is I think about a quarter of the whole world's links golf courses. Some very world famous golf courses. We've got Portrush up here, which is the home of the Open Championship last year. We have got Royal County Down, which is here, which is a beautiful, beautiful golf course. You can see the Mountains of Mourne in the background, really, really spectacular. Adair Manor is here, as I say, this is 2026 Ryder Cup will be played there. K Club, which is the I can't remember, was it in the 90s that the Ryder Cup was held there as well. So real good golf over in Ireland. But not only do you get great golf courses, you also get the benefit of the 19th hole when you're in Ireland. Payne Stewart, the late great Payne Stewart, said that he used to come over to Ireland and he loved coming to Ireland. Not only for the golf, but for the hospitality afterwards. And, he would tell stories of how after finishing his round, he'd end up in the 19th hole, someone would get a couple of drinks in, next thing they'd all be around the piano and he'd be going to bed at 4 a.m. It's all about the experience and the hospitality and the friendliness of the Irish. So there's just a couple of pictures there.
Just afternoon tea in one of the castles. You've got your oysters, and that's, I think, it's Belfast market. Jameson? No, yeah, Jameson Distillery. Some pub food with, I think, potato pancakes, and that's
it's bone marrow, isn't it?
Yeah, bone marrow. And here you go.
So there we are. Thank you very much.
Oh, I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
Oh, here we go. Sorry about that.
You guys don't disappoint with your storytelling at all.
Okay, so we actually do have some questions here. The first one is, to see Ireland at the best time of year, what season or month would you suggest?
September is nice. I think May in September, probably. Well, from April to October, that's the high season. But I think July and August, I wouldn't say it's too hot, but it's too busy. It's very, very busy. So I think September, weather is still nice and sunny, and then May.
Okay, and then let's see, our next question. We have, this is coming from somebody in Turkey. I've been to Belfast before, such a fantastic place with a great scenery and people. I traveled there with a UK visa. Do I need to apply for a separate visa to travel to Dublin from Turkey?
Oh.
No.
I don't know the answer to that because we've got Brexit. I don't know.
Well, at the moment, no, but who knows?
Yeah, no. Well, it's complicated because there shouldn't be. Well, at the moment, there is no border between North and Southern Ireland. There should still be no border following 31st of December this year. But I don't know what the requirements are for Turkish nationals, to be fair. He would have to check with his own consulate, or she would have to check with her own consulate, because it may well be that you need a visa to enter into Ireland. I can't answer that, I'm afraid.
Okay, but fair enough to say to contact the consulate, to confirm whether or not they'd need a visa.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. This is from Lisa in Arizona, wanting to know if COVID-19 is affecting the ability to visit sites today. I think it's safe to say the answer is yes. If we're talking absolutely today, that visiting a lot of these sites is probably still restricted, especially to somebody from the US.
Yes, I mean, at present, most attractions in the UK and indeed in Ireland are closed. They are opening up slowly in
July.
sort of, towards the end of this month, mid-July. Hotels hope to be open by some at the beginning of July, some more towards the end of July. The big sticking point for travel to the UK at the moment is that there's a 14-day quarantine for anybody arriving. That is due to be revisited on the 28th, 29th of June. And we don't know whether there is going to be what is known as an air bridge between different countries, so you can travel without having to quarantine. My understanding is at the moment, Ireland also has its borders closed, except for travel between the UK and Ireland, although it might open up between Ireland and the rest of the European Union as of next month. But my understanding is everybody else is excluded from that at the moment.
And I'm guessing too, as we see things open up, we're going to be being updated as far as whether or not something has to have be pre-ticketed, so you have to purchase in advance, not something you could walk up to it to try and go in and see or do.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's very much going to be the way forward for the foreseeable future. Is that it's going to be time allocated tickets to keep numbers down, to keep people social distancing until we see the end of this matter, unfortunately.
Okay. I have a question that came in about the Celts, fairies, and folklore. Is there a better area to find things about the myths and legends, or is that something that you find primarily through the stories in the pubs, or?
It's everywhere. It's Ireland. It's a country, as I say. It's a country of banshees and witches, and you'll get it everywhere. So.
Okay, so you showed us a type of a 14-day itinerary for most of Ireland, but is it realistic to try and do the Republic and Northern Ireland in the same trip?
You need at least probably a week to do Southern Ireland, so you could do in 10 days probably both, but like quick ones. So like instead of spending 2 weeks, you just pick and choose with quick stops, like what you want to see. So 10 days for both, yes, but you need at least a week for the Southern.
But you won't be able to see everything with you. I mean, but even within 14 days, you won't be able to see everything. You'll have to sacrifice some things, and you can pick and choose. It depends on what you ultimately want to see and how much time you want to spend there at the end of the day.
Yeah, because it's possible, for example, if you only want Giant's Causeway, you can do a day tour. Again, it's a long day, but you can do from Dublin. So instead of spending 2 nights, or if you just want to see the Troubles in Belfast, again, it's a day tour. So
okay, and then somebody also had asked, what's the best way to see Ireland? To do a self-drive or to do tours?
To have a chauffeur.
The ultimate best way is to have a driver guide, ultimately. Secondary to that, it's probably going to be group tours because the roads are, as I say, windy. There's no postcodes or zip codes. So sat-nav, a bit dodgy. You may not be able to find places. So the most help you can have, the better. But if you're good at reading maps, then go for it. It's an adventure in itself. If you don't want to get divorced or separated from whoever it is you're with, go for it. Go for your life with the cell phone. You'll have a whole vacation in itself.
How is cell phone reception through Ireland?
Yeah. You're talking about a place that even up to about 10, 15, 20 years ago, there might be one or two phones in a village, you know, and people would use or phone the communal phone number, you know, and so it obviously it's not as bad as that anymore, but it was like that, as close to us as 20 years ago.
That's
but it's
why
very
it's so
rural.
magical.
Yeah, which is another one of its charms. But it is it is rural. There is limited phone reception. But as Murray says, that is absolutely part of its charm. You'll find some great little country pubs, which will be the tiniest pubs you've ever seen in your life. You know, you'll only be able to fit about 5 or 6 people in there, but they'll be full of stories, full of charm, full of, you know, mysticism. Just yeah, it's a beautiful place.
And then I have one last question. Is golf better in Ireland or Scotland?
Ooh, that depends on who you ask. A big debate, really, whether Scotland is better or Ireland is better. They're both probably as good as each other, but for slightly different reasons. You get to play more famous golf courses, I suppose, in Scotland. You've got most of the Open Championship golf courses in Scotland. You've got a few in England, but you've got most of them in Scotland, save for, of course, Portrush from last year. Well, I love Scotland. Scotland's my favourite place in the whole of the UK, so I feel like I'm betraying Scotland by saying this. But something about the people and maybe the 19th hole maybe might sway me a little bit to say they've both got amazing golf courses. They really do.
Well, thank you.
Okay, we just had one more question that came in from Ecuador, and they want to know what are the cities where people usually speak Irish and English?
It would be, there'll be some Gaelic speakers in Dublin, won't there?
Mm.
There'll be in Galway. It's one of those that I'm not overly sure whether it's mandatory that you have to speak Gaelic. Does it get taught in schools? I don't know about their educational system, to be fair. I suspect you will find it all over Ireland. I suppose that the comparison I can make is similar to sort of Wales, and they do get taught Welsh, but not everybody speaks Welsh. And I suspect it's very much the same there. It depends on generation, whether they could be bothered to learn it and follow it through. But yeah, I suspect, you know, in the vast majority of most places within Ireland, you could be able to get examples of people speaking Gaelic. Yeah, I think so. But sometimes you may think that they're speaking Gaelic and they're not, because, you know, if you think I speak quick, you should hear some of them in Ireland, but they've got a much nicer accent than I do. So yeah, I'm sure all over is the answer.
Okay. That is it for all of the questions that we have right now. Now, in case, you know, anybody watches this, the recorded session later on, and they come up with questions that nobody else asked and that's not actually covered in the presentation, they can reach out to any of the 4 of the travel agents that, you know, co-host Take a Virtual Vacation. That would be myself. I'm Susan Schaefer. Maria Stephanopoulos. Wave, Maria.
Me.
That's her. Barbara Oliver and Gail Sherman. And right now up on the screen are all 4 of our email addresses. So you can reach out to any of the 4 of us. And if we don't have the answer, you know, we can reach out to Neil and Marina, and we can definitely get the answer for you. And of course, when you're ready to go ahead and hop across the pond and travel to Ireland, reach out to one of the 4 of us, and we would, of course, be happy to help you, you know, book your fantastic journey through Ireland in person. So for that, we are done today. And then next week, Maria, what's up for next week? New Orleans, right?
Yes, we are in
We're going
the
to
Big
Nolans.
Easy.
Yes, we're going to the Big Easy. So next week we'll be covering New Orleans. So come back and join us, and we will see you on our next virtual vacation.
Thanks again, guys. We really appreciate this.
No problem at all. Take care. See you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.